you involved in tonight's show. And to let you know how all that works and how you can get involved in tonight's show, let me introduce you to my co-host. He's back this week, Mr. Michael Bailey. Hey, Mike.
1 second. 1 second. Okay, I still have internet. Good. Hey, Steve. I am here, and it's amazing. The modern technology that is internet, it still proves to be incredibly frustrating. Now, aside from all that, since I am here, guess I should tell you that since WGBS Live is all about Superman, we want to hear from the Superman fans that are watching us live on YouTube. So around to the halfway mark of the show, and if we don't have too much on the docket, my internet holds out, we might try to take your calls. We kind of have a lot to talk about tonight, so I don't know how that's going to go. To do this, though, you'll need Skype. Get on Skype, find Superman homepage, message us that you'd like to join us, wait for us to reply, which is really important, and then we'll try to get you on the show. So again, wait for us to reply, because sometimes that can screw up if you try to call us, and we are on a delay, so you might want to turn down any speakers.
Yeah, exactly. And I had to change a little crown thing at the bottom there. I just had my name because I was going solo last week. Your internet wasn't up, and I couldn't find a co-host. I changed everything, and then I forgot to change it all back.
I thought it was just a hint that now we watched this on a delay, and I'm seeing that my finger joke just did not go anywhere, so I apologize for that. Yeah, I just figured maybe that was just a hint, like if you don't show up again, this is how it's going to be. Not that I think you want to do this by yourself.
No, it's not easy talking by yourself for a whole hour. You just don't have anybody to kind of bounce things off, so it is a bit odd doing the whole thing for an hour. And I remember you did that once when I was in New York for the premiere of Man of Steel, I think it was, back in the day, and finally we called you up and from that premiere and had a chat with you.
Yeah, I'm a little more used to it because of all the podcasting, but it's not doing it live is so different because when I'm recording by myself, I can pause, I can cough, I can take a drink, I can start over when I screw up, and you can't do that live. You just got to keep dancing. Feats don't fail me now.
Yeah, exactly. The show must go on, as they say. Well, as you mentioned, we do have quite a few things to get onto tonight. But before we do that, for those tuning in live via YouTube to watch tonight's show, we invite you to join in and post your comments and ask questions in the YouTube comments there below the video or next to the video. Michael and I will keep an eye on those as we go through tonight's 1 hour program. And a huge thank you to our sponsor and patron, Douglas Meacham. We appreciate your support. Well, we don't usually have, or we haven't for a while now, had any movie news to discuss. But this week, in an interview with Polygon, Matthew Vaughn, who's the director of the Kingsman movies, and you might recall sometime last year, there were rumors going around that he was in talks with Warner Brothers to direct a new Superman movie. Those talks have since fallen through, and his plans for a proposed trilogy are no longer in the works. But he did reveal that his first film would have been set entirely or nearly entirely on Krypton and focused on Jor-El in the impending explosion of Krypton. He also said that although the alien planet would have faced its ultimate doom, that Kal-El would have grown up on Krypton and then gradually become familiar with Earth, maturing into an adult before having to reckon with his loyalty to both planets. Can't we just get a straight Superman movie?
It sounds so terrible. I mean, like as an Elseworld story, I think they did that at one point. I think J.M. DeMatteis, it was like Last Family of Krypton or something like that, where and that was the subject of multiple imaginary stories in the Silver Age. But I gotta agree with you. It's just like, why is it when people are like given Superman, it's like, okay, here's Superman, pretty easy concept, comes from a dying world, raised by nice people, wants to do right because it's the right thing to do. Yeah, but you know what would be really cool? Let's set the entire first film on Krypton. And then he doesn't even leave Krypton. This reminds me of the J.J. Abrams script from the early 2000s, where Krypton didn't even blow up, and it had a huge civil war because Episode 1 was so popular, and it's just like you have everything you need at your disposal. And it's nothing against Matthew Vaughn, because I really liked, I haven't seen the Kingsman movies, but I really enjoyed X-Men First Class, which he directed. I thought it was an excellent movie. I think we've talked about this before. So it's not like I'm like, Matthew Vaughn is this hack, because I don't believe that. But it's just like, please, just do a Superman movie. I mean, I don't know why the WB and these people that they try to get are so gun-shy about it. It's just like, didn't the reaction to Batman v Superman teach you anything?
Yeah, I don't get why every director who comes on board, or even every writer, wants to do something that's their own spin. I mean, I understand wanting to put your own stamp on a movie and have it be your vision, but don't change the story so much that it's unrecognizable as Superman. Make it something that's enjoyable as Superman the character is. You don't go changing James Bond, other than maybe it's slight, differences here or there, or updating the technology, or, for a new time in the history. But don't go back and changing, everything about the character that makes him who he is. And that's what makes Superman is the fact that he was the last survivor of Krypton, sent to planet Earth as a baby, and found, as he said, by the Kents, and grew up in Smallville. Like just make that movie. Just make it good.
Yeah, it's just like, everybody wants to do that, or they want to do let's do a Superman type story, except it's a horror movie. It's amazing to me that and we sort of live in a bubble. I'm not going to say that we completely live in a bubble, because you get enough negative feedback on everything you post that I think that kind of keeps you grounded a little bit. But we live in kind of a bubble where we're surrounded by like-minded fans, or even or not like-minded fans, but we all think that this is what the world wants to see in a Superman film. And maybe we're not completely right, but they keep getting it completely wrong. So there's got to be a middle ground here, and there's got to be somebody with, if we get into comics later, kind of a Jeff Johnsian love of the character. And I'm not talking like the Superman the movie, or remaking the Christopher Reeve film, because I don't think that would work. They did the love letter, and everyone said it was too slavish. Then they went in the complete opposite direction, and they're like, this isn't like the Christopher Reeve film. Now, at that point, I can understand the studio going, you people don't know what you want. But at the end of the day, when you look at what other companies have been able to produce with their comic book films, and what DC has been able to do with Shazam and Aquaman, where they change things and they update things, but they kind of stay true to the core concept of what the character is, and it seems to work out.
Well, it's exactly the same thing with Superman the movie back in the day in 1978. They changed things, but they stayed true to the core. Krypton wasn't an ice planet in the comic books at the time. There were certain elements of the story that weren't the way they were in the comics, but they are definitely true to the core of the character. And it was definitely Krypton, Smallville, Metropolis. It was broken down into those core elements of what makes the Superman story what it is and so lovable. So yeah, there were elements that were changed, but it didn't necessarily change the core of what makes the character so popular.
Yeah, Tina in the chat is asking, what is Matthew Vaughn doing? Matthew Vaughn, one, didn't have anything to do with Brightburn. We were talking about a story that came out where it revealed what Matthew Vaughn had planned to do with the Superman films, because it was rumored that he was offered to do a slate of Superman films, and his idea really didn't sit well with Steve and I. There's an article about it at the Superman homepage, so really invite everyone to check that out. But yeah, it's kind of funny that we now think of Superman the movie as this like holy tome.
Yeah.
This untouchable thing, but like you said, it was a departure in a lot of ways. I mean, Krypton was completely reinvented, but they still kind of got that concept that this was an alien planet that he was rocketed away from.
Yeah.
So, I think I know that Warner Brothers has been having mixed results with their superhero films. Thankfully, the last couple have been pretty successful, and it looks like the Wonder Woman sequel is probably going to be pretty good. There's a rumor, because there's always a rumor, that they're going to split it to two cinematic universes, which until somebody from Warner Brothers knocks on my door and like tells me directly that that's what they're doing, I don't think I'm going to quite buy it. But it's just, I read this and I'm just like, Dan Jurgens said something on Twitter in reaction to this, and he said something to the effect of the ability of people to not understand Superman will never cease to amaze him. And I think that's it. I think there are too many people that just don't understand that it's the core concept that makes us fans. You can get a bunch of Superman fans in a room, and if you want to start a fight, immediately mention Batman v Superman and then just walk out, because the place is probably about to burn down around you. But I honestly think if you get a bunch of different fans and you're just like, okay, so you like this, you like this, you like this, you're going to find a lot of commonality there.
Yeah, exactly. Now, even though Vaughn's discussions with Warner Brothers have fallen through and are no longer taking place, he said it'd be so hard to say no if he was offered the opportunity to helm a new Superman film sometime down the track. So that's where things are at. Nothing new. Looking back, it's old information now, but new information, if you like, where it's a little bit of information coming out about something that had happened previously but is no longer in the pipeline. So once again, we turn our attention to the television side of things. And while Supergirl has completed its 4th season, we know Season 5 is coming. But before we get to anywhere near Season 5, we have Krypton Season 2 to look forward to. And Sci-Fi have released another promo video for this upcoming new season of Krypton. So let's check that out right now.
It is time.
Kneel before Zod!
That bastard has stolen our better tomorrow.
We're stealing it back!
You think you are him? You think you are Superman?
We got a lot of work to do. We gotta defeat a tyrant, free a planet. It's what us superheroes do. Let's get to it.
So there you have it. That is the promo trailer, a new one for Krypton Season 2, which will air on Sci-Fi June 12. Again, they're just really hitting it out of the park as far as all the special effects and costume designs and set designs are concerned.
Yeah, it's funny. I was watching a clip from an episode of Smallville just randomly on YouTube. And it's staggering that, as the special effects on Smallville got better towards the end of the show, but still watching it now, it's just like, wow, we have come so far in what these people are able to do on the budgets they're able to do it. So, and it's just basically it's because enough people are doing it.
Yeah.
The Greatest American Hero. I don't know if that ever really broke big.
Oh, loved it.
Okay, so. They originally, when they were doing the flying effects, they would just kind of put him like in a rig, and they would just kind of shoot him from one end of the room to the other. But after the first season, they adopted the same Zoptics effects that the Superman films were doing. And if you watch later seasons, the flying effects look more like Superman. And the reason they were able to do that is the Superman films did it, and it was now cheaper to do because they didn't have to build it.
That's right.
So the more people do these things, the cheaper the technology is going to get, the better the television shows are going to look.
Indeed. And Krypton, well, Sci-Fi have been really drumming up all the promotions for Krypton. They've even released a behind-the-scenes video of this second season coming up, looking at what we can expect from some of the characters, which villains are going to be showing up, and here's a little bit of a sneak peek at that. I won't play the whole thing because copyright, but we'll play a little bit of it right here.
Lobo is wild, man. Like, Brainiac is a very powerful antagonist.
Zod's methods are extreme.
Doomsday is just crazy.
Seg is fighting 4 villains now as opposed to just 1.
Give me back my son.
It is time for this resistance to end.
General Zod has taken over Kandor. He's rebuilding it into the vision that he sees for Krypton.
We are now ready to claim our rightful place amongst the stars.
In his mind, he is creating a egalitarian and fair-based society. Obviously, he meets resistance, and he deals with that resistance in his own inimitable style.
Have we regained control?
So there you have it. That's some of the behind-the-scenes Krypton, the making. What's it called? I think they called it behind the scenes of season 2, but also I think they called it Exploring Krypton was the video's name on Facebook that I saw. So yeah, just love seeing the behind the scenes stuff, seeing some of the actors talking about their characters and where they're going, and seeing some of the producers, directors, set designers, what have you, talking about what goes into making these TV shows, because as you said, they really have, just picked up the ball and run with it as from what previous shows and movies and things have been able to do.
It's just so insane how good Brainiac looks. It's just crazy. Just like the Brainiacs that we've gotten in the past. It was James Marsters, not Jason. I don't know. I was about to say Jason, and it was just him. With his hair slicked back. With tentacles coming out, CGI like. But now it's just like, nah, we're gonna slap some makeup on a dude, and it's gonna look great. By the way, thank you Amethyst and Rob for continuing the love of Greatest American Hero in the Flash chat. Really appreciate that.
I never realized that there was a season, because I got the box set of the Greatest American Hero, and never realized there was whatever season it was where there was a female teacher was going to take over.
We're getting off the reservation here. That was a pilot that they did around like 83 or 84. The show had been over.
Yeah.
And Robert Culp basically put together a pilot where they were going to redo the show, and it was going to be the Greatest American Heroine. And she was like a school teacher, or she was like a daycare worker as well. It's not like a complete episode. It's actually pretty awful.
Yeah.
It's not anybody's fault, but yeah, I remember when FX became a channel back in the 90s, they showed that for the first time, and I'm like, wow, we kind of dodged a bullet there. So
now, Sci-Fi also released new character posters for Seg-El and Adam Strange, and there's the I'll put them side by side if I can, if they fit in here. They don't really, but so Nerves of Steel is the Seg-El one, and Adam Strange says Last Son of Earth, and these are the monochromatic kind of graphics that they've created of late for some of these different characters. So it's cool to see them for these two main characters, I guess, of the series.
Every time I see Nerves of Steel, I'm like, that's cute. He's not a man of steel, but he has nerves of steel. So, I'm looking forward to this. I still have to kind of carve out the the time to watch the first season, but I do plan on catching this season as it goes along, since we're going to be talking about it, and I don't want to be like last year where I just kind of look up into the distance every time you want to talk about the latest episode. So
exactly. Now, if you're a comic book fan and you're also a Krypton fan, then there's a new digital comic book story, a 3-page online comic book story that Sci-Fi and DC have combined. I'm trying to find the first page here because I haven't been really that prepared tonight. Actually, I think I got it here. Yes, there it is. It's a 3-page comic book available on sci-fi.com. It's called Krypton Tales from the Phantom Zone, written by Brian Edward Hill with art by Jason Badawa and Annette Kwok. And it's also they've got a breakdown of those 3 pages in pencils, inks, and then full color as well. So it's kind of sets up where things are at from season 1 into season 2, so that you kind of get a bit of a jumping on perspective for season 2.
I like it when they do the little tie-in stuff like this. It's I guess DC's kind of gotten away from like doing like a full-on like digital tie-in book. Because I don't think that Death of Superman 1 did very well. I bought every issue.
Yeah.
But I don't think that kind of lit the sales charts on fire. So maybe they're just doing something small just as a promotion and then just focusing on the show.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see them do these kinds of things because obviously the source material for these characters is the comic book. So to get a comic book tie-in for this show is quite cool. And I saw Cameron Cuff, who plays Segel on Krypton, absolutely chuffed, being a big comic book fan himself, to see himself in comic book form, or his character, his face in comic book form. He was just absolutely beside himself.
Yeah, his Twitter feed is almost nonstop comic book talk. So I'm sure it was exciting, and the art looks really close. I mean, they got the likeness down really well.
Yeah.
So I am very impressed with that.
All right, well, that's Krypton Season 2 starting June 12th on Sci-Fi. I think it's June 16th or June 19th here in Australia on Sci-Fi, so not far behind. You'll want to, if you want to, catch up on Season 1. It's on the DC Universe digital streaming service there in the US, so make sure you check that out. It's also available on Blu-ray and DVD through the Superman homepage online shopping page. So let's jump onto the comic book side of things, where I know you haven't read it and I'm halfway through reading it, but I do want to discuss Superman Leviathan Rising, which is the special that is leading into the epic event Leviathan that is taking place across the DC universe, especially Batman and Superman books. This is pretty much a book that's broken down into 9 acts. I read up to Act 5, which is Jimmy Olsen one, which was weird as. It's just like, you can, like, Act 1's Leone, who's visiting Magnus Books, and she's, I guess the underworld figure that's kind of, the Red Cloud kind of thing at Metropolis, if I'm not mistaken. And then you have Leviathan actually appearing to her and offering to kind of team up or get some help from her. They have a really interesting discussion. Then you got Lois and Clark. Then you got Lois herself, and this whole Clark Kent being kidnapped idea, because they've always gone after Lois. So let's go after Clark Kent, because we never get to actually do anything when we kidnap Lois. It never works. So the idea is, let's kidnap Clark Kent instead. And Superman plays along, but things go awry. And then we jump into this whole Jimmy Olsen section of the book, where it's tied in because it has, we've heard that Jimmy's involved somehow, but his whole story is just wacko, and it's just like, he's in Gorilla City, he's had a drunken night, he's gotten married, and there's a cat that spews up blood all over the place, and it's just like, what the hell is this? Is this what the Jimmy Olsen book coming up is going to be like? It's just like, what a wild ride. So Act 6 is Supergirl, which I haven't yet gotten onto, but yeah, wow. I'm not sure where the Jimmy Olsen side of things are going, but this is an interesting idea, interesting concept of Clark Kent getting kidnapped instead of Lois Lane as a way of getting to Superman.
Yeah, the Jimmy Olsen thing, I saw a couple other people kind of reacting to it, and it seems like they're trying to do a modern-day version of his 50s and 60s comics where weird things would just happen. And I kind of took a step back from that. I'm like, why not? I mean, Jimmy Olsen is one of those characters that constantly is going, like he is either a non-entity, or he's like Clark Kent's best friend, or he's this major supporting character who has this whole life of his own, or he's Mr. Action, or he's like turning into a werewolf or whatever. And then this is just how it works for the character. So if that's what they're doing, since it's a mini-series, let's play with that.
Yeah.
At least it gives the character some visibility. Now, my concern is that I'm seeing, and again, this is without reading the book, my concern with this Leviathan Rising thing is I'm seeing a lot of promotion for, the main, event book. And it doesn't seem like Superman's a really big part of that. It seems it's the Batman and the Question and all that. And what I'm kind of concerned at is that this is Superman is being used as the jumping on point, but that he's going to be kind of left behind. And this is really his event. I mean, it's not like Batman doesn't have enough events to either be the main focus of or to be part of. So I'm hoping that once I read this, I'll feel a little better about that. Because if this is one of those things where Superman's off the table until the very end and he comes in and does something cool, I think ultimately it's going to be disappointing. I mean, it's not that I don't want to see Lois Lane do her thing, but I read these things because of Superman.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from there. It will be interesting to see how this plays out. But yeah, I mean, my only complaint with the Jimmy Olsen thing was I really enjoyed that part of the story, but being all the other parts, all the other acts, if you like, the other chapters, there was no big real difference in the way the stories were being told. And then you get to the Jimmy Olsen part, and it's almost like you've jumped into the Twilight Zone. It was just like, wow. I don't mind reading. I'm looking forward to seeing if this is the angle they're going to take with the Jimmy Olsen book itself. I'm looking forward to it. It just was a real kind of slap in the face when you turn the page to see where they were going with this part of the story. But interesting. So I'm looking forward to reading the rest of it. And our reviewer Adam DeChannel gave this a 5 out of 5, saying that to give it anything less would be unfair. Just for effort alone, it deserved a 5 out of 5. So looking forward to seeing where this event Leviathan is taking us. And we have more comic books to talk about after the break. We're at the halfway point of tonight's show. We're going to take a quick break and then come back on the flip side to talk Doomsday Clock. And I know you have something you want to say about this particular comic book. So we'll be back right after these messages. Stand by. Whoops, wrong button. Let me go here.
We'll be back in a moment with the exciting climax of today's episode. So stand by.
Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird.
It's a plane. No, it's SupermanHomepage.com, the #1 Superman fan site in the world. SupermanHomepage.com, covering the world of Superman from the 1930s to today. News, reviews, rumors, and reports. SupermanHomepage.com for all your Superman comics, TV shows, movies, cartoons, radio shows, and more. Everything you ever wanted to know about the Man of Steel and more. SupermanHomepage.com.
Thanks, Superman Homepage, for all the support over the years. I really appreciate it.
I'm Matt Bomer, the voice of Superman in Superman Unbound, and this is the Superman Homepage.
Right here on Superman Homepage.
Delicious.
And dangerous. First, never touch any appliance without a parent's supervision, and always be careful with kitchen appliances. Keep their cords out of your way and your fingers out of their way. Also, always turn pot handles in, away from the edge of the stove.
So nobody bumps into them and gets hurt.
Now you're cooking.
And we're back on WGBS TV Live, where we have some safety tips from Superman on cooking. Do you cook, Michael?
Yeah, we actually do a lot more cooking. We hardly ever eat out anymore, just because one, it's cheaper, and two, the quality of food is terrible. But yeah, Rachel and I kind of switch off. One night she'll make something, the next night I will.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's similar here. I'm actually started enjoying it. All right, getting into the Doomsday Clock number 10. An important issue is how our reviewer Keith Sumner described this issue. What was your take on this particular comic book?
You know, it's funny because in the previous issue 9, outside of what they did with Firestorm, I was like, man, Johns, you just got to get over this love affair with Superman the movie. I know you worked with Donner. I know it's your favorite. I get it, but it touches everything you do with this character.
Yeah.
So I'm reading this issue, and this is the issue that, like in the original Watchmen, where we get Dr. Manhattan's origin. We're kind of getting how he came to be where he is. And at first you think it's just focusing on this guy that plays Nathaniel Dusk. But then, in the midst of all this, Johns says a lot about, not only about Superman, but about how DC treats Superman. Because we see, like, the Golden Age Superman, and then that changes, and then we see, like the Silver Age version, and then the Man of Steel version, and then the Birthright version, and then, there's a little more emphasis on the Secret Origin. Big surprise.
Yeah.
Wrote that. But there's a moment where it's revealed that Dr. Manhattan created the New 52 universe. And that basically it's not a universe, it's a metaverse, and things change. And when things change in the metaverse, things change in the multiverse. Which I was like, well, that's actually kind of intriguing. But there's a page in this where he changes Superman's origin, and it's him doing it. And he says, he killed, Jonathan and Martha are killed shortly before he leaves high school. This Superman doesn't have the connection to them. I relate to him more. And it occurred to me at that moment, it's like, he is not only telling a story here, obviously, and this isn't anything deep and meaningful. I'm not, I haven't cracked the Da Vinci Code, is what I'm saying. But when I read that, I'm like, Johns is basically saying with this issue that, and this is how I took it, I don't know if this is exactly what he was saying, is that if Dr. Manhattan is a representation of the deconstruction of superheroes and kind of the darkening of comics that happened after Watchmen, then the New 52 is a reaction to from that person to Superman. So Superman becomes this darker, edgier character, but it's not really him. It's not really what he's supposed to be. It's just the version that Dr. Manhattan can relate to the most. And it's like in one book, Jeff Johns basically says, yeah, that Superman that we published from like 2011 till a couple years ago? yeah, that was wrong. At least that's what I got out of it.
Well, Mind the Gap in the comments is saying a very similar thing. He says there were strong rumours that Jeff Johns did not agree with the New 52 take on Superman. So, yeah, it was a very interesting look at Superman through the ages, and to see Dr. Manhattan's, take on how the times reacted and how Superman was relevant and all that kind of thing. It wasn't your average story from a comic book. It was really kind of deep, and there were different layers to it that, as you say, you could read certain things into it. And for that reason, I really enjoyed this issue of Doomsday Clock, and I was glad that it roughly came out on time compared to what they've been coming out on time. And yeah, just was thoroughly enjoyed the look through Superman's past and different origins, and to see how his commentary along the way reacted to the different versions that came out and the different changes in what those origin stories told. It was fascinating reading.
Yeah, I was really kind of taken with when he kept saying April 18th, 1938,
Yeah.
April 18th, 1938. I'm like, okay, I get it. But it was really cool, the scene in the diner where the two people hear the newscast about Superman, and one of them just doesn't believe it, and one of them wants to make sure that he's on our side. And the thing about that scene was when they interviewed the people that watched Superman leap away after crushing the car, he just had this big smile on his face. It's just what this issue did to me is it reminded me that as many problems as I can have with Johns' writing and different things he does with his writing, he is the closest thing we have to a major player in comics, outside of Brian Michael Bendis at this point. But really, that's been at DC for a really long time, that seems to actually like this character.
Yes.
That doesn't want to constantly change it to suit what they think the market will demand of it.
Yes.
And it reminded me a little bit of Tom DeHaven, It's Superman, which was set in 1938.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, and then it just made me want to see more modern takes on like the Golden Age Superman. But it was just really neat that even when Gary Frank was drawing Superboy, and there's just something always wrong with that. I don't know what it is. Like all the adults look fine. That he just seems to have trouble with children. It just seemed like this book liked Superman, and it's really rare to read a book that isn't one of the Superman books where they like Superman. And frankly, I could probably point to about 100 different examples over the last 20 years of Superman books where it is Superman books and they don't seem to like Superman.
So true. And then you have that side story, if you like, that was going through this book of the actor, or the guy Carver Coleman, and his career in Hollywood, and how that played into Dr. Manhattan's personal growth, if you like.
Yeah, what I liked about that is I was kind of convinced in the early issues that actor was actually going to be Dr. Manhattan.
Right.
Like he somehow assumed his identity. But no, that was Johns playing with the idea that Dr. Manhattan exists in all times at once. And it was something Moore did very effectively in the book, and they really did a good job of it in the movie too. Which hey, there's me saying something nice about a Zack Snyder film. Someone write this down. This is going to be used against me at some point. But no, I really liked. It's one of the things Johns does exceedingly well is he makes you care about the characters that you're reading about, even if they're this guy was like an issue, but you kind of cared because he was down on your luck actor that got a big break thanks to Dr. Manhattan, but he ends up getting killed by his mother who's blackmailing him. And it's just kind of sad, but it was a really great narrative through line for the issue, because through that we got to explore not only Superman changing, but the fact that the Justice Society disappeared at one point, and it was Dr. Manhattan's fault. And there's been speculation since even before the series started that it was going to be revealed that all of the dark things that have ever happened to DC happened because of Dr. Manhattan, which on one level is interesting. On another level, well, that's an interesting commentary on how Watchmen changed comics. And it's an incredible cop-out because these people are the ones that keep doing this stuff. And you can't...
You blame it on a fictional character.
I mean, let's go back to Infinite Crisis. It was just like, well, DC's really dark, so this series is going to fix all that. And what happened right after Infinite Crisis? It got dark again. Congratulations.
Sign of the times. All right, well, let's look ahead to what's available this week in the world of DC comic books for Superman fans. And there is a pretty good list of comic books coming out this week. And I'm just going to try to go through them, turning off some of these as we get to what we want to get to, which is Adventures of the Super Sons, number 11 of 12. This book continues on the Rex Luthor storyline with the boys out in space. We also have Deceased, number 2, out this week. And that is available in this very horrific Superman cover, a variant cover. It's also available in this horror movie tribute cover, which is obviously a tribute to A Nightmare on Elm Street, the poster for that movie. Also out this week is Justice League number 25, and that is a Year of the Villain prelude, and that is available in this variant cover as well. And then you have Young Justice number 6 out this week, and that's also available in a variant cover. And I believe the variant cover stuff is going to be continuing or not. I don't know. It just seems to be a thing that they're doing on and on and on and on and on. It used to be a gimmick, but now it's like a constant. And also out this week, a Blackest Night 10th Anniversary Omnibus hardcover.
I absolutely love that DC last week puts out Doomsday Clock number 10. And it's like DC Comics, Doomsday Clock number 10. Superman's really important, and we've been really screwing him up. Also, DC Comics, here's a variant cover where he's a horror character. It's just...
Well, it's kind of in tune with the movie that's out there at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just, well, that doesn't surprise me.
Now, this came across my desk this morning. We're going to move to the kind of the merchandise side of the news cycle. And this Infinity Studios bust of Superman, or Henry Cavill as Superman doing a shirt rip is just, it's just, let me get it up here for you. It is just on the money. It is amazing likeness of Henry Cavill. It's inspired obviously by the final scene of the Justice League movie, in which Clark Kent rips open the shirt to reveal the Superman costume underneath. It's a 1-to-1 scale bust featuring this incredible likeness of Henry Cavill. I don't have any other details at this point in time. No release date, no pricing. I've only seen it on Twitter, Facebook. Haven't actually seen Infinity Studios posting any kind of details about this. But I have seen the models and the head sculpts and what have you in preparation for this final product. But is that just me, or do the shirt and the tie actually look fabric, or is it just so well painted?
I think it's probably just really well painted. I saw this earlier today, and I rarely want to buy any of the statues that we talk about because they're usually like, you have to sell an organ to be able to afford it. But I looked at that thing and I went, it's everything. It was my happiest moment sitting in the theater of that movie. And it just looks so nice. Like, it's just, I just am just so impressed with, one, how much that looks like Henry Cavill. Because sometimes the statues look like it, but it's a little, there's always something a little off. But that is a really good likeness. You're right, the painting and the way, and maybe it's the material they're using too, makes the fabric look like fabric. And it's just, this is everything we wanted to see in the next Superman film in bust form. So that's kind of the interesting thing. We started out this evening, which seems like so long ago for some reason, talking about the fact that nobody gets what makes this character good, and then this bust shows up. It's like, well, somebody does. Talk to that guy or girl. I don't want to be sexist.
Yeah, exactly. And just like I said, no detail as far as the pricing or when it will be coming out, but I think this one's going to be a very popular purchase for Infinity Studios when they do release that information. So looking forward to seeing what comes from that. Now, San Diego Comic-Con is obviously not that far away, and all the exclusives start to come out from different studios that will be there for showing their merchandise, what have you. And this one is from Icon Heroes, and it is a Supergirl, dark Supergirl statue, obviously based on Melissa Benoist's Supergirl. It is a exclusive offering to San Diego Comic-Con, available at Icon Heroes booth, which is number 3345 inside the San Diego Convention Center. It stands approximately 9 inches tall, is made of polystyrene resin. It's only limited to 300 pieces. There's no availability of a price yet, but it will be available for those who can't attend the convention, available at their website as well in a limited, very limited number, if this is something that you're interested in. Personally, not for me.
Yeah, it's an attractive statue, and
Just
that was
very dark.
I liked that out. Yeah, I liked that outfit as they used it in the comics. But I could see like somebody who's like a huge Supergirl fan that wants to have like all the different variants and such.
Yeah.
But that's 300 pieces. That thing's going to be expensive.
Yeah, especially if it's a convention exclusive. And another convention exclusive is, and I think this one's probably more to your liking, is the Alien, Superman vs. Alien San Diego Comic-Con 2-pack exclusive, which, whoops, I've just put you side by side, there we go, from NECA. Is that how you pronounce their name?
NECA. I don't know exactly how. They produce very nice action figures, though. So this wasn't a surprise to see. Actually, it was a complete surprise to see. I never thought that they would do a twos. Like Superman versus Aliens is one of those series that like fans of the 90s remember.
Yeah.
But it's never really been reprinted in a big way. They haven't really, it was reprinted recently as part of a larger trade paperback. But it's a very attractive looking figure. They're also putting out, in the same vein, a Batman versus Predator 2-pack.
Right.
To go along with that miniseries from 1992, I believe. So, but this thing, like Superman, looks amazing. You can have the, like, you can give him the heat vision, or he doesn't have to have the heat vision, and that's comic appropriate. The alien figure itself looks very cool. They put it on the promotion, put it, the pictures that they released, put it in a lot of positions. I was just extremely impressed with that.
Now, this comes in a flapped window box, and as you said, Superman will include 2 interchangeable head sculpts, a heat vision accessory, and 2 sets of interchangeable hands. It's priced at $60 US, and as you said, is inspired by the 1995 Superman vs. Aliens comic book miniseries, which was co-published by Dark Horse and DC. And the set includes 2 brand new comic book based figures, both with over 30 points of articulation. 300 is a bit much. 30 points of articulation, and Superman's about 7 inches tall, features a fabric cape, and comes with attachable eye heat vision blasts effects as well. So that's the figure from NECA. which is a San Diego convention exclusive. Now, if you're not going to the convention, then you can go to thenecastore.com. Certain amounts of this figure will be available to purchase via their website, dated June 5th to June 7th.
I kind of wish they would have done a third head with long hair.
Uh-huh.
Because he had the long hair in the miniseries. That was that time period.
True.
So maybe I'm just being nitpicky, though. I mean, this would not be the first time.
Now, in other merchandise news, Mattel also announced that they've extended its global licensing agreement with Warner Brothers Consumer Products and will continue to be the toy licensee for DC in the girls, preschool, vehicles, games, and novelty toy categories. And this agreement will grow existing DC Universe franchises as well as new content for the DC superhero girls phenomenon.
That's awesome to hear, too. I'm glad they're continuing with that.
So that's an announcement that came out this week. And speaking about announcements and things that are happening this very weekend, the Superman celebration takes place June 6th to June 9th in Metropolis, Illinois. And the full schedule of events has been released, as has the app for the Superman celebration, which, as I said, takes place in Metropolis, Illinois. And the official graphic, where is it? I just dragged it. There it is there. And parts of, some key moments for the Superman celebration include the welcome at the Superman statue on Thursday, June 6th at 5 p.m. There's the costume parade at 6:30 p.m. on Friday, June 7th. Autograph and Q&A sessions with Erica Durance, Helen Slater, and Katrina Law throughout the day on Saturday, June 8th. And don't forget the Superman homepage meet and greet, which will take place on Friday, June 7th at 10:30 a.m. inside the American Legion building located at 321 Market Street, which is not far from the Superman statue, and in the street behind Fat Ed's Roadhouse, which is an awesome place to get a feed.
Yeah, I saw that the Hollywood Americana Museum, which was a really cool place to go to when we went, is going to be closed this weekend.
Yeah,
for some bizarre reason.
Don't know if they've had renovations or some issues that they're not able to open up in time for the Superman celebration, which is a shame because they are obviously owned and run by the same people who run the Superman Museum right there in the middle of Town Square and Superman Square. But the Americana Museum does have some cool stuff, so it's a shame for those who will be attending that won't be opened.
Yeah, and if you're one of the people that follows the different Metropolis themed Facebook groups and pages on Facebook, you're starting to see everyone really getting geared up. It's like one of those things where once again I'm just like, I can't go, and I really want to.
I know, and the Superman homepage meet and greet for everyone who turns up. There's a Superman homepage 2019 button. There'll be DVDs and Blu-rays to give away, but we're going to be having heaps of games and prizes and trivia questions and things. It's just not going to be a come and grab your ticket, come and get a prize kind of thing that has happened and does happen at other meet and greets, but this is very much a community feel to what we do there, and a lot of fun. It usually lasts about an hour, and then you can go have a feed at Fat Ed's afterwards.
Which I recommend.
Yes, definitely.
Very
good shrimps there, or prawns as we say. Now, talking about having a good feed, if you're in Indonesia, they have these Superman biscuits, chocolates, ice creams, things that they've been doing since 1993. Now, the problem for DC Comics is that Warner Brothers recently, or DC, tried to register a trademark for Superman in Indonesia, and it got bounced. It got rejected because this company called PT Marketing Fam McMure, a Surabaya-based food and beverage company, already holds the intellectual rights to the brand name Superman and his likeness in Indonesia since 1993, as I said. And so DC Comics got rejected for their own brand, their own character. This is crazy. And they even appealed the decision at the Central Jakarta Commercial Court and took it to the Supreme Court, and they upheld the original ruling, saying that the plaintiff's lawsuit cannot be accepted because it is obscure.
So, for the people out there that are justifiably upset that you can't get the DC Universe app in other countries, realize that this is why. This is a great example of how a copyright issue, how it relates internationally, can just, at this point, usually DC will descend with all the evil lawyers that the Warner Brothers company can pay for, and they just send you a cease and desist letter and you stop, and that's the end of it. But
right.
If you want to push it, they can get you. This is one of those times where it's just like, no, we've had this since 1993. This is our law. This is how we see it. So we're going to keep selling these things.
It is absolutely nuts. It is. It's just crazy how this has transpired. And, with the whole force of their corporate engine behind them and their lawyers and everything, it just failed.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm actually on this company's side because technically, the way their copyright law works, if I'm understanding this piece correctly, they're in the right.
Yes,
they've had this for over 25 years now, and for Warner Brothers and DC Comics to kind of step in at this point and go, no, you can't do that. It's just like that ship sailed 2.5 decades ago.
That's right. Yeah, you could have.
And I agree with JP.
I was just going to say,
I want to try one of these things.
Yeah, me too. Anyone in Indonesia, send us a box. Just make sure it's cool packed. We don't want to melt it.
Every company we've talked about tonight, NECA and the people doing the shirt rip
send it along.
Just send us stuff. We will talk about it, and we will tell everyone to buy it.
Yep, exactly. Now, look, that's pretty much it. Don't forget the Superman Super Trivia Quiz is available. 3 new questions for you to try to answer this month under the favourites menu at our website. Try that. But beyond that, that is pretty much our show for this week. Before we do sign off, I'd like to thank everyone for watching tonight's episode of WGBS TV Live. Once again, thanks to those in the comments and YouTube for participating in the show. And a big thank you to you, my co-host, Michael Bailey. Thanks, Mick.
Glad to be back.
Yes. Can't say a pleasure as always, because you haven't been here for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's just the sad part of it. No, it was a lot of fun. I was glad I was able to do it tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Now, the complete 1-hour video of tonight's show will remain available on the Superman homepage website if you'd like to watch it back, and our YouTube channel as well. Perhaps you missed part of the show. You can watch it all in full doing either of those two things. And a huge thank you to our sponsor and patron, Douglas Meacham. Now, if you want to sponsor the Superman homepage, please head to patreon.com/Superman homepage, where you too can be a sponsor for as little as $3. We'll be back next week on Tuesday, June 11 at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time for another edition of WGBS TV Live. Look forward to talking with you then. Until then, be sure to check out supermanhomepage.com for all your daily news updates on everything surrounding the Man of Steel. I'm Steve Eunice on behalf of myself and Michael Bailey. Thanks for watching WGBS TV Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com.